Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Santosh, for coming forward to share the tips, tricks, and the strategies for handling the 2020 H1B CAP petitions. And thank you all for joining this weekend conference call. Santosh, you want to take the lead?
Sure. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Santosh Somireddy. I'm the founder of Somireddy Law Group. Today, we're going to discuss about some tips and tricks as well as strategies for improving H1B success rate. So, myself, Santosh, I'm the founder of Somireddy Law Group with offices in Virginia, Maryland, and Hyderabad. We're a full-service law firm specializing in U.S. immigration, litigation, corporate law, and employment law. To give you a little bit background about myself, I have an engineering degree. I have a master's in engineering from Bradley University, Illinois. I'm a licensed professional engineer. I have a JD from University of District of Columbia. I'm licensed to practice law in the states of Virginia and New Jersey. My area of expertise is mostly immigration, litigation, corporate, employment law. I do handle the USCIS and DOL audits also. So the agenda for today's call is basically we'll go over the requirements for H1B visas, and then we'll discuss about some of the strategies for improving the H1B approval rate. And then we'll discuss about what a H1B dependent employer means. The H1B dependent employer would be subject to various regulations that are not typically like that a typical employer would not be subject to. And then we'll give a little bit of interest, like I'll discuss a little bit about the maintenance of public access file, and then we'll open the session to Q&As. To start with, what are the requirements for H1B? There are basically 4 requirements. The first thing is that the petitioner must be a U.S. employer. The second thing would be that the petitioner must have right of control over the beneficiary. So there should be an employer-employee relationship between the petitioner and the beneficiary. The third requirement is that the position that they are offering should be could qualify for a specialty occupation. So when I say specialty occupation, the position must require a minimum of a U.S. bachelor's degree or equivalent in a specific specialty. I want you to pay close attention to the word specific specialty. Okay, and the fourth requirement is that the beneficiary must meet the requirements for the position. That means the beneficiary must have an equivalent of a U.S. bachelor's degree in that specific specialty. So we'll go through each one of these prongs in detail. First thing is, how do you prove that the petitioner is a U.S. employer, right? So you would typically provide the articles of incorporation, EN verification document, marketing materials, tax returns, organization chart. But in the recent times, I have seen various cases which got affected because for various reasons, and I'm going to go through those issues with you today. First of all, you got to make sure that your corporate registrations with the State Corporate Commission are up to date, because we have had situations where the employers have failed to extend their registration with the State Corporate Commission. And if you file a H1B without extending your registration, then the petitioner, then the petition will be invalidated. So how many of you have really checked to make sure that your corporate documentation is up to date? Ramon, is it an interactive session, or do you want to?
No, I think it's not going to be interactive sessions, Santosh.
Okay, because
we can have a Q&A session probably at the end, maybe.
Okay, sounds good. So one of the main pitfalls is that employers fail to make sure that their registrations with the State Corporate Commission is up to date. The second pitfall that I see regularly is that the employee count in the on the 129 form does not really match with their quarterly wage reports. So what happens is sometimes the employers they include even 1099s or some contractors, or they fail to include W2 employees in the number of employee count. So that could also affect the petition. So it's better that the employer really look at the quarterly wage reports, which will actually have the exact number of employees who are working on W2 for the petitioner, and then use that number on the 129 forms. The third issue that I see regularly is inconsistent office addresses. So some of the employers, they have like one address listed on their website, another address listed on their tax returns, licenses. So if there is any discrepancy, then USCIS will issue an RFP regarding the same. Next point is providing inconsistent information on the organizational chart. So we have had situations where the employer lists that they have 10 employees, but the organizational chart actually shows like 20 employees, because they include like offshore teams, sometimes they include contractors and all. So the organizational chart must have only full-time employees listed on their organizational chart, and it should clearly show the beneficiary's supervisory chain. That's the reason why we are providing the organizational chart. And for any company that's doing H1s for the first time, it's very important that they register with the UNS website. Then let's discuss, this is the main thing that I really wanted to discuss today. So what qualifies as a specialty occupation? So in order for a position to qualify as a specialty occupation, it should require a minimum of a bachelor's degree in a specific specialty. When I say specific specialty, I'm referring to a specific field of study. So for example, if you have a position that requires a bachelor's degree in computer science, information systems, electronics engineering, business or math, it will not qualify for specialty occupation, because there is no relationship between computer science and business or math, right? So unless it's in a specific field, it will not qualify for specialty occupation. So sometimes I see letters where the client says that the business analyst position, I'll give a small example. Business analyst position requires a bachelor's degree in computer science, business or a closely related field. Does it qualify for specialty occupation? I would say no, because there is computer science and business are not related fields. So these are the typical things that you have to really avoid in the letters. And then the next thing is, does a business analyst position requiring a bachelor's degree in computer science, engineering or related field, will it qualify for specialty occupation? Again, the answer is no, because the word engineering could mean any field of engineering. So we have to be very specific in detailing the position requirements. You have to say that the position requires a minimum of a bachelor's degree in a specific specialty, like computer science or related field. Then only it will qualify for specialty occupation. If you have a broad range of requirements for the position, then it will not qualify for specialty occupation. Ram Mohan,
yes, Santosh?
I think it will be a good idea if we open the session, because some of these things they will not be really able to understand until I explain the first prongs.
Okay, yeah, it is open, Santosh, as is. I think
okay,
as long as
sure.
someone is interested, yes, of course, they can jump in and ask questions.
Okay, is this clear to everyone so far?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so providing, okay, I'll give you a small, then the other thing is providing detailed job duties. So most of the times what happens is we provide like the job duties that we provide are not detailed enough, so that the office and the officer would not be able to make a decision based on the job duties. So especially you should avoid using the words responsible, experience with, coordinate with, setting up meetings and all. I'll give a small example. So assume that one of the job duties is preparing H1B petition. Okay, so that is the actual job duty. Based on this information, would you be able to decide whether the position requires a bachelor's degree or not? Okay, I would say no, because when you say prepare H1B petition, it could mean copying the petition, it could also mean filling out the forms, it could also mean doing a legal analysis regarding the case. So the first two job duties would not require a bachelor's degree. That is, to copy the petition or to fill out the forms, you don't need someone with a bachelor's degree in law. Whereas, in order for somebody to do a legal analysis, then you would need somebody with a bachelor's degree in law. So it's very important that you provide detailed job duties, so that the officer, when he looks at it, he should be able to make a decision whether the position requires a bachelor's degree or not. I'll give you a sample job duty document. So we have been using this sample for quite some time now, and ever since we started, we have been started writing job duties in this way. We have not been receiving specialty occupation RFEs, or at least the number of RFEs have went down drastically. So assume that in the client letter it says that Mr. XXX is responsible, like Mr. Sam is responsible for liaising with a business team and gathering requirements. Right? If you just provide that, it will be very tough for the officer to decide what the person would exactly do. So then what we do is we actually jot down like detailed job duties and also mention how these job duties relate to particular task of an SOC code. So how do I come up with the task? If you enter search wizard, assume that you have selected the SOC code of software developer applications in the LCA, right? Then you have to make sure that the job duties actually match with these tasks, which are related to the software developer applications position. So here these job duties here these job duties are for a software developer position, and hence when we write this job duties, we are showing how it relates to the task for one of these tasks for that SOC code. So this will make sure that the officer understands, hey, this position is related to that particular SOC code task. And also it shows the complexity of the work that is performed by the beneficiary. Hence, the officer would be able to make a decision whether the position requires a bachelor's degree or not. And as you all know, all we have to do is we have to show, the petitioner has the burden of proving that the position qualifies for specialty occupation. And you have to show that by a preponderance of evidence standard. That means that you have to show that it's more than 50% chance that the position actually requires a bachelor's degree. As long as you are able to prove that, they would not issue a specialty occupation RFE in the first place. So does anyone have questions regarding the job duties, how to write the job duties and all?
No.
Okay. Then, most of the times, the job titles that we use in the real world are not the same as the job titles that the Department of Labor uses. So we have to be very careful in choosing the SOC codes because some of the, the a weird system of using Java with the real a systems analyst. Systems analyst is a high-level position in the real world, but as per DOL, it's actually a low-level position. One way to look at this one is whenever you choose an SOC code, right? For example, 151132, you always go down and look at the percentage of these positions that require a bachelor's degree or master's degree or associate's degree. Are you able to see this screen for education? For example, for 1132, it's showing that 80% of the positions require a bachelor's degree, 16% require a master's degree, and 3% require an associate's degree. The same thing, if I choose 151131, here, 88%, only 88% of the positions require a bachelor's degree. The remaining 12% would not require a bachelor's degree. So you have to show that the position that we are offering would fall in that 88%. And good. So the next thing is, so are we clear on how to prove that the position is a specialty occupation? Does anyone have questions regarding that?
Yeah, I think they're good.
Okay, good. So the next thing is, how do you show that the beneficiary actually qualifies for the position? So in order to qualify for the position, the beneficiary must have an equivalent of a US bachelor's in that specific specialty. Right? One of the major challenges that we will face is, assume that a person has a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, okay, and then you're filing H1B for a software developer position, and then all of a sudden you receive an RFE saying, hey, how this position is related, like how a person with mechanical engineering degree would be able to perform these job duties. And a lot of times I see that clients try to show any the coursework in mechanical engineering to show that he qualifies or he gained enough experience to perform these job duties. That is not how it needs to be done. So in this case, the beneficiary is actually qualifying for the position based on his education plus experience. Right? So although the officer is asking you how the beneficiary's degree is related to the position, the officer is referring to the US equivalent degree. So you would use both education and experience to show that the person is qualified to perform these job duties. So you would not show how a mechanical engineering degree qualifies him for the position. You would show how a mechanical engineering degree plus his experience. That is more important because it's his experience that is qualifying him for that position. So typically, whenever you have someone with a foreign degree, then you would request an education evaluation to show that the foreign degree is equivalent to the US degree in that specific field. If a person does not have degree in that related field, then we would use education plus experience. And when providing these experience letters, you have to be really careful because you have to, USCIS wants to see detailed job duties, and also they want to see that the experience was gained in a professional level. So basically you have to show that all your colleagues and the supervisor were professionals. That means they had a minimum of a bachelor's degree when you have actually gained this experience. Another thing is that never submit resumes with the petition. It is very important that you avoid submitting resumes with any H1B petition because a lot of times resumes will have inconsistent information and which is not required for the H1B approval. So you will not submit the experience letters or resume unless it is required for the position, because all you got to show is that the beneficiary qualifies for the position. So if they have a US master's degree, then you will just use master's degree plus transcript, or if they have a foreign equivalent degree, you will just use the evaluation, the foreign degree and the transcript. Do not provide unnecessary information to USCIS, because at some point of time when you're filing green cards, like, you don't want to be providing any inconsistent information. Then we have to show that the petitioner is the actual employer who has right of control over the beneficiary. So here there are a few issues that I have been seeing in the recent past. The supervisor cannot be a HR personnel, because the supervisor should be able to really guide the beneficiary in technical performing the technical work. And a HR person, although they will be dealing with the employee on a day-to-day, like on a regular basis, they cannot be the supervisor. It should be either the president or a IT manager or a team lead, but it cannot be a HR person. A lot of employers do this mistake by mentioning that the beneficiary will be reporting to XXX, who is the HR manager, which is not allowed. Any performance evaluations, everything has to be done by the supervisor, who is the technical person. It cannot be done by a HR person, because the HR person is not be overseeing the beneficiary on a regular basis. Also, whenever you have more number of employees, for example, if you have like 100 employees, you cannot say that each of these employees is reporting directly to the president, right? Because it's not technically possible for a president to supervise 100 employees. Further, I always recommend that if you have like multiple individuals placed at the same client, then maybe the junior level employees should be reporting to a senior level person at the same client location. For example, if you have a technical senior software developer working at Amazon, and there are like 10 software engineers working at Amazon at the same location, then you will have the senior software developer act as a supervisor for these individuals. And then we have to show that the petitioner has a right of control over the beneficiary, and that he would manage the day-to-day activities of the beneficiary. Another tip I would give is, make sure that you provide a company email ID, that the petitioner's company email ID, a badge, a portal for communicating with the supervisor, and also cell phone, laptop, whatever possible, so that you could show that the petitioner is the one who is actually providing the instrumentalities for the beneficiary to perform these job duties. Also, review the agreements, the contract agreements and the vendor letters. Make sure that it clearly says that the petitioner is the one who has the ability to hire, fire, and also assign the beneficiary to a different position. The petitioner must be deducting the required taxes. The person has to be working on a W-2, the H1B employee has to be working on a W-2, and then they should be deducting the necessary tax returns. And also, it is important that you provide the regular employee benefits to a H1B worker. This will also help avoid any discrimination lawsuits in future. Okay, so a lot of people have been asking me about what is the H1B dependent employer and how does it really play into picture. So whenever an employer has less than 25 employees, of whom at least 8 are on H1B, then they will be considered as H1B dependent. Or if you have more than, if you have between 26 to 50 employees, of which more than 13 or more are on H1B, then also you consider as H1B dependent. Or if you have more than 51 employees, then we look at if you have more than 15%, then also you'll be considered as H1B dependent. Just because if employer is H1B dependent does not mean that you have to pay any extra fees. Also, H1B dependent employers would not be subject to any additional attestations if they are offering a salary of more than 60,000 to the beneficiary, or if the beneficiary has has a master's degree or a higher level education. So I'll show you something here. I guess this is the old LCA, but the regulations remain pretty much the same. So here, if you look at section I, right, it says that if an employer is H1B dependent or a willful violator, then you're supposed to be answering this question 3, which means that as whether the LCA would be used to sponsor an exempt employer or not. If it is used to sponsor a non-exempt employee, then you have to answer these. You have to attest that you are agreeing to make sure that this H1B petition would not displace any US worker at your location or at the client location, and that you have conducted necessary recruitment and hiring practice before hiring this individual. So this will not apply if you are already paying them more than 60K salary. I'll show you to you here. Give me 1 second. If you look at it here, it says, is the beneficiary a non-migrant exempt from the Department of Labor attestation requirements? So they are referring to these attestation requirements wherein you attest that the beneficiary would not be replacing any US worker either at your office or at the client location, and that you have done the necessary recruitment. So if you say yes, that means you will not be subject to the requirements. So if you say yes, then you have to answer whether you are saying yes because the person is getting paid more than 60,000, or the beneficiary has a master's degree or higher degree in that specific specialty. Is it clear so far? Anyone has any questions? And
Santosh Somireddy, this is Peter here. I have a quick question.
Sure.
So when you say that 60,000 is specific to, it is state-wise or any state? It's overall same thing.
It's the same thing overall. It's not space specific. As long as any dependent employer, as long as they are paying more than 60K, they don't have to worry about this.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of employers think that if they are H1B dependent, they'll be subject to other regulations and all. But once they are able to pay 60,000, anything more than 60,000, they should be fine. And there are talks that this number could go up to 110,000.
And I think the last couple of years, USCIS expects level 2 wages, and it's like little more, close to like 85,000 salary they're like expecting, right? I think 2 years back they rejected many H1B applications when they put 60K salary.
You mean level 2?
Yes, level 2.
Yeah, actually, see, even a level 1 position, the regulations clear like it. So they cannot really decide just because the position is level 1 position. They cannot say that the position does not require a bachelor's degree. Okay, we had lot of level 1 RFEs, and then they went through because we were able to really show that even though the position is a level 1 position, it's an entry level engineering position, which requires a bachelor's degree, but no experience really required.
Okay. Yeah, 2 years back we noticed like many complaints that it used to work, or last 5 to 10 years. I mean, it used to work, but 2 years back in FY 2018, yeah, 2017, they rejected a lot of H1B applications when they filed with level 1. Yeah,
That's
probably,
true.
probably
But
proper
if you're filing,
documentation
even
should
now,
go
if
back.
you're filing a level 1, make sure it doesn't have any supervisory load. Okay? You have to draft the job duties so that it will be like the position requires a bachelor's degree, but it's a low level position. You have to clearly show that the person will be actually reporting to a higher level position at the same higher level position, and then then you should be fine. But of course, it's always risky to go with level 1 wage.
Okay. And I have another question, like for the
Sure.
same qualification for the, I mean, H1B position requires more salary than regular US citizen, right? I mean, usually for the same kind of qualification, how do USCIS expect? Do they expect to pay more salary to H1B than green card, or same or less?
Good question. So I'll give you a small example. We had a DOL audit, okay, wherein the employer was actually paying level 1 wage, okay, level 1 wage. I can't give you all the details, but I'll give you a small example. Assume that the employer was paying level 1 wage in SFO, San Francisco, right? The level 1 wage, level 1 wage for a software developer position in SFO is maybe like around 100,000. Right? And it was so even the senior software developers in that area who are on green card and citizens were actually getting paid the same amount, which is level 1 wage for a H1B worker. Then we could look at all those statistics and then argue with the officer that this is the actual level that was supposed to be paid for the beneficiary, and they would agree with it. So even like it's not mandatory that we have to pay level 2 wage, but it's always better to avoid any RFEs.
Okay. My question is, like, for the same qualification, whether it's level 1 or level 2, I mean, there are like 2 candidates, green card candidates and H1B candidates, and the salary
You have to
range,
pay them same.
is it like same?
You have to pay them the same amount.
Same amount, okay.
Yeah, you have to pay them the same amount because
doesn't need to be more. It doesn't need to be more for H1B.
more doesn't need to be more. Doesn't need to be more, because if you pay more for either of them, right, then you'll be subject to discrimination.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, USAID says you have to get a highly skilled workers. You cannot replace the US workers and all. So only if it's when you show highly skilled, yeah, you have to pay a little more than US citizen is what I thought.
Yeah. I would suggest that you have to pay the same amount whether it's a US citizen or a H1B holder, H1B worker. The other thing is, a lot of times what employers do is they don't pay the H1B worker while like during federal holidays, or they don't provide vacation. Whereas they would provide vacation and holidays to a citizen or a green card holder, which could also lead to discrimination lawsuit. So it's better that the employer has fixed benefits package for everyone across the board, whether the person is on H1B or green card or a citizen.
Okay.
And I'll go through a little bit about the public access file. So the public access file, I highly recommend that the moment you file an LCA, okay, you have to do the LCA posting. So the requirement is that you have to start the LCA posting anytime 30 days from 30 days before filing the LCA until the date you file the LCA to start the posting. And the LCA, like the public access file, should be made available immediately once the LCA is filed. Never ever club the LCA public access file with the beneficiary's file. So for example, when you are maintaining the public access file, do not maintain it by the name of the individual. Okay, so you should maintain it by the LCA number itself. So I want everybody to please pay close attention to this one. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, so a lot of employers, the mistake that they do is they try to put everything together. They put the public access file, the HR file and everything together. That is not how it needs to be done. So a public access file has to be maintained for any LCA that you file, whether you're using it or whether you're not using it. And also do not mix the HR file with the public access file, because the DOL officer has nothing to do with the HR file. But if they see something in the HR file and that's incriminating, it could affect, it could lead to further investigation. So it's always better that we keep the public access file completely separate from the HR file. And also, if you assume that you filed 100 LCAs, whereas you filed 70 H1s, you would actually have 100 public access files. So you basically create one public access file for every LCA that you file.
Sometimes for the same person we file multiple LCAs. In that case, as a
Then also any LCA, for each LCA number, you have to have a public access file. Okay? And if you're using the same LCA for multiple individuals, right? For example, if you filed an LCA and then mention that you will be using the same LCA for 50 individuals, then we'll have to create, like at the end of the LCA, you would also include the names of all those 50 individuals. Okay? And also, for any H1B dependent employer, okay, please make sure to keep a list of all the exempt and not exempt employees. When I say exempt employee, any employee who is getting paid more than 60K or has a master's degree, they are all exempt. And and you will keep a list of all the exempt or non-exempt employees. For any non-exempt employee file, you have to have the documentation to prove that the position did not displace any US worker at your location or the client location, and that you have to provide the recruitment documentation also. Is that clear?
It's clear. It's a little tough to do.
Well, see, most of the H1B dependent employers, they would be paying at least 60K, right?
Right.
Yeah, then then it's an exempt position, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay. Okay.
Only if you are paying less than 60K, then only all this will come into picture.
Yeah, none of ours are under 60K, so.
Yeah, but another issue, lot of times people file LCS incorrectly and they attest to that I'll show you. So although it's not required, they attest saying that they'll comply with this section, subsection 2. That's also a problem. Once you attest that you're complying, then you have to provide that documentation, so you have to maintain it. So make sure that you file your LCAs properly. I know this is the old LCA. The new LCAs have changed. Yeah, but make sure that you select the right information on the LCA.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the main important agenda for today's call was to make sure that you understand how to write the job duties so that we could avoid the specialty occupation RFE and in the first place. Does anyone have questions regarding these, how to write the job duties?
No.
Very good.
Yeah, and I'm assuming
by
that you know how to
specific
pick up the task for the SOC code and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. When we write a job duties for a specific role, like any technology related, do we need to follow any guidelines?
Yes. So basically, this is what I would suggest you do. okay, the moment an LCA is filed, okay, you would know the SOC code from the LCA, right?
Okay.
Okay, just type in that SOC code on Google. For example, assume that you find the LCA using 151131 computer programmer. Okay, then you would type in that one, and then these are the tasks for a computer programmer position. Okay, so you would write these job duties in detail and show how those job duties relate to that task.
Okay.
Yeah, this is pretty easy. Once you do one of these job duties, it will be very easy. And we have been following the same since last April or May, and we receive very few RFPs on specialty occupation.
I have a question regarding the analyst positions in the market. I heard a rumor that if you filed a H1 cap as an analyst, as a business analyst or systems analyst, it's going to be a denial. Do you have any idea about it?
Yes, I'll tell you the reason why they would deny the petition, and I'll also show you how to avoid the denial. I think I went through that one. Most of the times what happens is, okay. If you look at this one, right, the third one, does the business analyst position requiring a bachelor's degree in computer science, business or related field qualify as specialty occupation? The answer is no, because are not related fields.
A should be okay. If the candidate has the MBA degree, then it qualifies for the business analyst.
No. I'll show you the reason why. I'm sure everybody is familiar with the OIH website, right? Occupational Outlook Handbook. Okay, so I'm going to Occupational Outlook Handbook and then typing Management Analyst SOC code. So here, when you click on how to become one, right? Degree in business is not a specific specialty, because business, the degree business itself is has a broad range of subcategories under it. So if you say that the position requires a bachelor's degree in business with concentration in computer information systems, it will go through. Business analyst position will be approved. Or if you say that the position requires a bachelor's degree in computer science, then also they will approve the petition. But if you say that the position requires a bachelor's degree in business, they will not approve the petition. Reason being, common fields of here, if you look at it, right? Common fields of study include business, management, economics, accounting, finance, marketing, psychology, and computer information science. So, business is considered as a broader field. It's not like computer science. Is it clear, or should you want me to go through it once again?
Okay, I heard that
bachelor's degree. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I heard that if I have experience, if we file a business systems analyst with a bachelor's degree in computer science and also a master's degree in computer science and a complete responsibility of all the technical responsibilities, not the functional responsibilities, but still there is a denial, a questioning about the specialty occupation.
Yeah.
So still there are the expert opinion letters or the expert letters or experience letters of almost 5 years in the same industry. Still, the ESCS is questioning about how this is a specialty occupation. So do you have any answer to this?
Yeah. So it doesn't matter what qualifications you have, right? We're looking at the third prong here, which is to prove that the position itself qualifies for specialty occupation. So it doesn't matter whether you have master's degree or you have 10 years, 20 years of experience, it doesn't matter. We have to show that the position itself qualifies for specialty occupation. We have to show that the position requires That means we have to show that the position requires a minimum of a bachelor's degree in computer science or related field. So in your case, if you are able to provide detailed job duties like this, and then clearly mention how those job duties are related to the SOC code task, and also narrow down the position requirement, then it will go through.
Do you have any recommendation on the SOC title, SOC code and title for this kind of roles?
Well, yes, actually, few days ago, I'll hold on one second, because I sent this email during last CAP to all my employees. Give me 1 second. Let me tweet up from my cell phone. Give me 1 second. So this was the email that I sent during last CAP, okay, wherein I clearly mentioned what are the SOC codes that we have to avoid. For example, 151121, we have to avoid that SOC code because only 47% of these positions require a bachelor's degree. And how to look this up? Simple thing is, go to FLC Data Center. This is a website. Go to search wizard, select any state. For example, here I have selected 151121, right? If I do a search, if you go down, it shows that a computer systems analyst position requires only 33%. Only 33% of these positions require a bachelor's degree. Right? So if you are paying the person level 1 or level 2, it will be very tough to show that the position will fall within the 33%. Is it clear? Or
Yeah, it is clear. Do you have any recommendation, like instead of using 151121, is there any other SOC code?
yes. If you can email me your job duties, I'll be able to tell you the SOC code within minutes. Would you like to email me your job duties? I can tell you the SOC code immediately. Yeah, so the SOC code will typically depend upon your job duties. So without having your job duties, I cannot tell you like what SOC code to choose. But if you want to email it to me separately, I can tell you what SOC code would be appropriate for your position. And also, as much as possible, try to avoid job titles having analyst, because the officers might get confused with computer systems analyst SOC code. So it's better to avoid the systems analyst job title in the first place.
Okay, thank you. I do have another question.
Sure.
As we see in the market, there is a issue going for a CPT student who's doing a second master's in the same level of degree.
Yeah.
And now I'm listening to I'm seeing some emails saying that if an employee is on a CPT status doing a second master's here, we have to file the H1 without filing for change of status. So do you have any recommendation on this?
Good question. In my case, I would say that that's not required because not all CPTs are invalid. As long as the CPT is properly issued, you should be able to get through it, right? If the CPT program that you're participating in is an integral part of your coursework, and if you're following, and if there's a corporate agreement between your employer and the college, and if as long as you're meeting the other requirements, you should be fine. And there should not be any issue in filing for a change of status. A lot of attorneys are suggesting that we file for concern notification just so that we get the approval without an RFE. But you will end up, but that could lead to issues at the time when you go for visa stamping, right? Hence, if at all possible, I would suggest that you file for a change of status here itself.
You are coming out? No, it's okay.
Thank you. I got the answer.
You're welcome.
Yeah, hi Santosh, I have one question. Can we file H1B with internal project?
Well, if you have an internal project, yes. But make sure you have proper documentation for the internal project like for example business plan, technical documentation, and also if you have a product, then you have to show who would be the buyer for the product, right? Typically in the first, like in the initial first year, they would not really ask you like to provide more documentation regarding the existing customers, but I highly recommend that you do not file any in-house projects unless you really have one.
Okay. Thank
you.
Any other questions?
No, this is Mary. I just want to make sure that I can give you guys my email address so somehow you can forward the document, the link to me so that I can review these slides.
Okay, sure. Can I get your email address, Mary?
Sure, it's Mary, M-A-R-Y, at I-N-S-P as in Paul, I-R-I-X, T as in Tom, E-K.com.
It's Mary, M-A-R-Y, at INSPIRIXTEK.com.
That's correct. Thank you.
Okay, sure. I'm sending a test mail, Mary. If you could confirm it, then I'll send you the documentation.
All right, great.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, Santosh, I have one question related to L1, those who are working on L1.
Mm-hmm.
So can we file H1B for them with internal project or any other vendor letters?
Well, it doesn't matter even if the person is on L1 or whatever status. As long as you have a project, you should be able to find the H1B.
Okay. So my question is currently working with one client location, and can we file H1B with the same client?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could do that.
But do we need to provide all the client letters and vendor letters because he is working with some other through some other company?
Well, that would become a challenge, right? Because unless the petition has an agreement to provide the services, you cannot file the H1B. Because the H1B should be approvable as of the day you file the petition. So, for example, if they are filing your petition on April 1st of 2019, then your employer must have a mass service agreement and the purchase order with the vendor or the client to provide your services as of that day.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
So, and I have a question. If you are hiring a CPT candidate who is on second CPT, whatever, so does employer gonna have any issues if we hire a CPT candidate?
No.
No issues to employer.
No issues to the employer.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
last year one of the applicant we filed, we filed it as an IT support analyst, and we got the the applicant was denied, and we opened the MTR, and it's been running from last 5 months. And can we apply a new or file a new H1 this year for the same applicant?
Yeah. So say that you cannot file the H1B, two H1Bs for the same individual during the same fiscal year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, yes,
yeah.
you could go ahead and file the H1B for him again.
But what would be the possible case to get the response for the previous MTR? Is there any timeline?
MTR, okay. So this is the problem. So when you file for an MTR, right? Typically, it goes through 2 stages. One is a motion to reopen, reconsider. Okay. If the petition does not go through that stage, then it goes for actual appeal. In motion to reopen, reconsider, we get the decision within 2 to 3 months, right? If they are not able to make a decision at that point of time, then it goes for appeal. The appeal could take a lot of time. There are cases where applications have been sitting for almost a year.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, it went to appeal. So.
Okay. No, even though you file for appeal, right? It will not directly go for appeal. It goes to the MTI, motion to reopen, reconsider first. Then it goes to the appeal.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have a question. So, I mean, at the actually the employee works at the client site, and what kind of documents do we need to keep at the office site location related to that employee for his H1 related documents?
Sure. So basically, it's a public access file that you have to keep, right?
So how long? We have to keep it forever, or like only 30 days, right?
So not 30 days. So as long as the beneficiary is employed with you using that LCA, plus 1 year.
Oh, okay. So basically, a public access file. Okay.
Yeah.
So the
Public
copy of the
file.
LCA.
And do not keep it as an employee file. Keep it separate. As I mentioned earlier, right? Public access file, you have to have public access file for the LCA, not the beneficiary file itself. A lot of employers do this mistake by keeping the public access file, by clubbing the public access file and the employee folder. They should not do that.
Okay.
Because there could be a lot of incriminating information in the employee folder, which you don't want the DBOL officer to access.
Okay. And that public access file, does it need to be visible outside, or can we put it in the locker? And
you could keep it in the locker. As long as it is made available within 1 business day, you're fine.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
And one more question I have regarding the amendment. So to file an H1B amendment, lot of times we don't get all the client letter paperwork by the time the employee starts work at the new client site. As per the new, August 18th, the amendment regulations, I think we should file amendment before the employee starts at the new client site. So do you think if we're going to have any issues if we file a week later, or how can we resolve that if we file a little late?
Yeah. So first thing, the August 9th memo, that doesn't make any change to the amendments thing. Okay? Because that only affects F, J, and M students, like only the students. Second thing is that you are required to file an amendment before you place the individual at the new location. Okay? There are few exceptions. One of the exceptions is that if the project is expected to last for only 30 days, for example, if you have a purchase order that's only for 30 days, then you are not required to file. Also, second exemption is that sometimes you are allowed to wait for 60 days, but that is only allowed if the original position still exists. For example, assume that you have a candidate that you have placed at Amazon, okay? And Amazon asks this guy to travel to one of its client's locations, maybe in New York, for a period of less than 60 days, right? And to come back to Amazon, then also you're not required to file an amendment. But in any other case, it's very important that you file an amendment before you place the individual at the new client location, unless it's within the same metropolitan area. If it's within the same metropolitan area, then you would do the LCA posting before you place the individual at that location.
But
I have the same question.
in one,
Yeah.
yeah, one more question. So the LCA was filed before the employee started a new client side, but by the time we got all the client letters, it actually passed the date. We couldn't file before the employee started a new client location. So now how can we address that? We already have the LCA before he started working in new location, but the only thing is the file didn't go to USCIS before he started the work.
Yeah. I would recommend that you file the petition without the vendor or client letter if that's what is delaying your process. Okay? As long as you provide the required minimum evidence, you should be able to file the petition. So I'm pretty sure like you might have had the MSA, purchase order, and maybe a vendor letter, right? You should have just filed the petition with those and then responded to the RFA later on. Because nowadays we have been seeing cases where if a person does not file an amendment in a timely manner, then they could even deny the petition. And also hold that the beneficiary has violated his status, which will have much bigger effect.
Okay, maybe if we ask the vendor to show the start date a little later, then that will resolve the issue, I believe.
Yeah, but you cannot misrepresent we cannot provide wrong information on the form, so just be careful.
Okay.
Yeah, Santosh, I have a similar question. One of our employee is working in the same client, but he changed the building because of the different position in the same location, same client. Do we need to file the LCA for that, for changing?
No, you're not required to file the LCA, but you have to do the LCA posting. You have to post the LCA for 10 consecutive business days at the new location before you move him to that location. But you're not required to file either an LCA or an amendment.
I have a question related to that. So the LCA should be filed at the employer location or the client side?
The client side.
Because
even
usually the client will not let post the vendor related things, I believe. I don't know.
Yeah, that is true. But at least you should give it the best shot. You should send an email to the vendor asking them to post it. You should also try to post it. And based on my experience with your investigations, they will penalize you for not being able to do the 10-day posting, but the penalty won't be so high.
The chance of coming in 10 days is very less. Yeah, usually they don't come within the 10 days period, it takes longer, so I believe they might. I mean, maybe we should just post it and take a picture at least to have proof, I believe.
Yeah, and also try to post it on, if you're not able to post it at the client location, at least try to post it on your website, and then also send an email to the vendor asking them to post it. Do whatever you can. At least we have to show that you did your best to do the LCA posting.
Okay. So it is a new LCA posting, right, Santosh, or old one?
Old one is fine. Because LCA posting, you don't have to actually post the LCA itself. You can post the LCA memorandum also. Because the memorandum, you could just say, for example, if it's within the same city, you'll just mention the name of the city, LCA number, the wage, the SOC code, the job title, and everything.
You means that existing LCA copy we have to with the
Yeah,
number.
you could either post that LCA copy or there is a memorandum. You could create a memorandum also.
Oh, okay. So we don't have to create file
New
new
LCA.
LCA
No.
purchasing the building. Okay.
No.
Okay. And Santosh, I have one question related to the office space. Suppose if you are filing for 10 H1, new H1B filing, do we need to have bigger space or?
Will they be working from your office or third-party locations?
Those will be working at my location.
Well, if they are working from your location, then you have to have enough office space for all 10 of them.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And if you have shared space and any issues with the shared space for filing H1B?
No, as long as
shared office space,
the beneficiary, like as long as you can, like for example, if the beneficiary is working at a third-party location, then there is no issue. But if the beneficiary is actually working from your location, then we have to show that it could be shared space, but you have to show that there is definite place available for him.
Okay. And do we need to display a company name in the shared space or
Not
needed?
required. Not required.
Not required. Okay. The lease document should be good enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, I have a question. I'm working at vendor location, so is it better to submit the client letter from my client or my vendor?
Good.
As my client.
So, are you working from a vendor location or implementation partner location?
Implementation partner.
Okay, good. So, would you be are you required to work on multiple projects or just one project?
Just one project.
And does your purchase order show the client names?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I mean,
then
between my employer and implementation partner, it doesn't show anything. But my implementation partner and the client has another SOW.
Okay. Yeah, if you are able to provide that SOW and then clearly state that the beneficiary would that you'll be working from the implementation partner office, then client letter is not a mandatory. Because if you are able to provide the SOW between the implementation partner and the client, because the SOW will itself have most of the information that is required for the client letter, right?
Okay.
It will show that the beneficiary, like for example, you'll be working like that. The implementation partner is actually responsible for completing the project. They'll be the one managing the resource, like everything. Most of the information will already be in that SOW.
So, but they are not willing to provide the SOW. Instead, they are okay to give the client letter.
Okay, that will also work. That's even better.
Okay. Okay, and the LCA should be filed
for the
from
implementation partner location only. Yeah,
okay.
Wherever you're working.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Santosh, I have a question, continuation to that previous question.
Yeah.
If suppose, I will give you a scenario. An employee who is working from home, neither he is near to the employer location or the client location. Then we generally file the LCA with the client location where he is working, right? But if he is working from home and if it is not near to the employer location and not the client location, what you recommend in the address in LCA?
Yeah. So if the person is working only from his home, then we will just include the home address. We don't have to include the client address also. But I would need a client letter that shows that he has the option of working from home.
Will that doesn't lead to the supervisory?
No, it's actually better. It is actually better because on the 129 form, you would say that the beneficiary will not be working from any third-party location. That will actually avoid the the specialty occupation RFE, not this right of control RFE. I'll show you.
So it doesn't lead to this how your supervisor or client, how your employer is supervising the employee when he's working from different location.
See, if the person, instead of him working from the client location, wherein the client could also supervise, now we are able to show that if we show that he's working from his home, then he'll only be reporting to the employer.
Okay. So will there be any problem if we mention two locations in the LCA? One is his home address and one is the employer location or the client address?
Well, if the moment you mention the employer address, they will ask what is the work available at the client address.
Got it.
Right.
Thank you, Santosh.
So we could also argue that 90% of the time he'll be working from home. 10% of the time he'll be working from the employer address in order to attend meetings or get trained, report to the manager, whatever. Right? But you have to be very specific on that one. So
okay, we have to mention it in the descriptions. I mean, our
on page
detail
number 8 of the form. Yeah. See, here if you look at part 5 of the 129 form, it asks, will the beneficiary work for you off-site at another company or organization location, right? If the person is working from a third-party location, then you would say yes, right? But if the person is working from his home address, then you would say no, because he will not be working from any other organization's address. He'll only be working from his home.
Got it.
Typically, they issue right of control RFE based on this question, which is question number 5.
Okay. It's a part 5 on I-129, right?
Yeah, part 5, number 5 of our 129 form.
Okay, I will look into that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Santosh. Yeah.
Sometimes the employee goes to the client cut 1 or 2 days, but rest of the time working remote. In that case, how it works?
Then we don't have to, even if the beneficiary goes to the employer location, like client location for 1 to 2 days, then we are not required to file LCA for that. As I said, right, there are exceptions. So he would, if it's 1 to 2 days, then he would fall under the exceptions, and he doesn't have to. We don't have to file an LCA for the client location.
Oh.
So I have a question. If an employee is a full-time employee for an implementation partner, and he works full-time at a client location, and he works as a production support, would it be ideal to keep his title as IT support analyst or IT support?
Good. So what does it exactly do? Is it like a manager?
No, production support, like a regular employee, like production support, not a manager.
So regular employee production support. Then there is no specific SOC code for that. So if you are doing just coding, or if you are doing coding plus quality analysis plus business development, right? In the first case, if you're just doing coding, then you would use 151132. If you're doing coding,
it's production support, like not related to coding. Support the production environment, production support.
Yeah. So that would you be dealing with the business, like business as well as testing too?
Right.
Then you would choose 151133.
151133.
Yeah, okay. Because 151133 is a combo of coding, business and business gathering, business requirement gathering, and all that stuff, as well as testing. So which is what you'd be doing, right?
Right.
Yeah. So then I would suggest go with 151133.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. You're welcome. I would not recommend 151199 point, I think 09 or something, which is the product manager, because the moment you choose 151199, they're issuing RFEs. So I would suggest that you avoid that.
So I have a follow-up question for the previous one. I understood you saying providing client letter would be fine even though we are working from implementation partner's location. But some of my colleagues who work in the same implementation partner location, have filed implementation partner as client, and they got the H1B approved. So I have a question like, is it better to put it that way, or
Good.
is it better
So
to
here
provide?
is the problem. If nowhere on the letters it says that you're providing services for this particular client, then you could use implementation, because it depends upon how your how your purchase order is written. If the purchase order says that the implementation partner itself is a client, then you don't have any problem. But if the purchase order says that the client is some other company, like, then it could be a problem, because they would say that the USCS officer might come back and say that the ultimate end client is so and so, and that we need something from that client.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. I think, does anyone have any other questions? If not, we could conclude the call. Okay.
Yeah, Santosh, one quick question.
Yeah.
We know that, we heard that, there is a change for 2020 cap H1B filing process, right? So what is the big difference, this time for filing new H1s?
So this year it won't make much difference. The only thing is that the number of petitions selected for under master's cap will be little more. So people who have a master's degree, US master's degree, will be at a slightly advantageous position. But other than that, there are no major changes that are happening for this cap. Next year, there will be, next year, instead of filing all the petitions and then going through the lottery, you'll be asked to register the beneficiaries' names and everything, and then they conduct the lottery without having to file the H1Bs ahead of time. So for only those petitions, only for those applicants whose names are selected, we'll be filing the H1B petitions next year.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining this call. I hope it was useful to everyone. If you have any further questions, email me at info@somireddylaw.com, info@somireddylaw.com, or visit our website at www.somireddylaw.com. Thank you and have a wonderful week.
We really appreciate for having this call and answering all the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Santosh.